Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Tea with G. I hope you have your favorite beverage on hand so that you can devote the next hour or two, however long it lasts, to the the beautiful, simple, and direct art of self-inquiry. That's what this is about. To know yourself as you really are without any misperceptions or misconceptions or illusions. Uh, that title came to me just shortly before I was about to set it up on YouTube for the streaming. And I recognized that it's a kind of thing that isn't very well understood. It's heard a lot in spiritual circles. It's an illusion, right? It's not real. And there's a lot of misconception about that. And people who are who are serious about spirituality and hear things like that will either get into it, make it into a concept, some kind of an idea, or get afraid. It's all an illusion. I mean, there's nothing here. And you hear people say that too. There's nothing here. There's no one here. There's nothing to see. So, what I thought I would do is make it really clear what an illusion is, and that there is something there. It's just not what we think it is. There's an old story in the Hindu tradition. That's where it came from. About a fellow. You may have heard it. I'll say it again anyway for those of you who haven't. A fellow, a farmer, small village somewhere, China or India or somewhere, right? Where they had farming villages. Out early in the morning, to do his farmer thing, do his chores and the like. He goes into his barn and in the twilight, over in the corner, he sees coiled a snake. And of course, he's terrified, right? A snake. I mean, they have snakes in India, real ones, and they do crawl into places. And so off he runs, right out, yelling to there's a snake, there's a snake. And all the other farmers, his friends, and people in that little village all come running with torches and pitchforks and poles and all sorts of things to try to get rid of the snake or kill it or do whatever they have to do. They all go in, the whole lot of them, and sure enough, there in the corner is this snake coiled. And it's quite terrifying, quite terrifying. So the first thing they do is they don't know how to approach it, from what angle. They need to get it to move, so they start like throwing little stones at it, hit it, but it doesn't move. I think maybe it's dead. Maybe there's something wrong. They usually move. So one of the guys with a pole comes up and he starts to poke a really long pole. Starts to poke it, doesn't move. It's gotta be dead. One guy up there with a pitchfork and the other guy with a torch stick it really close, and then start to laugh. It's a rope. It's not a snake. Now, it's used as a spiritual metaphor to describe our experience in the world and to drive home the point that we don't see things as they are, but we react according to what we think they are, rather than what they really are. The illusion is a projection onto something that's actually here, but the projection misinterprets it and thinks it's something else. It's different than a hallucination, which I just noticed Fatima asked about that. A hallucination is there's nothing there and you're seeing things. This is not the same thing. I love to use the example of a mirage in the desert. You see a mirage, right? Your mind projects on it, water, there's water there. But there is no water there, but you don't know it. The belief is so strong in what our mind sees and what our senses, what our mind sees. The, the, the eye isn't seeing the water. It's just seeing what's actually there, the desert. And it's hot, and there's a sun, and there's a sand, and there's heat coming off, and you're sweaty and you're thirsty. All of that's all of that's actually there, being experienced, being perceived. On top of the experience, there's this perception in the mind that projects onto it the belief that there's water there, or there's a snake in the rope, or that the sun is moving across the sky and we're not moving. All illusions, projections. The thing is, it's so powerful. Unless we know it's an illusion, we believe the mind. We believe that what we are perceiving is really there. Now, some of these examples can be funny. I've seen some really interesting illusions on YouTube where this one fellow sets things up so that on the camera it looks like a chair, a real chair sitting there. When he changes the angle off to the side, you see that it is actually the shadow of a chair, but because of the angle you're looking at, the mind sees a chair that isn't there. I've seen other ones with people doing 3D drawings on a 2D surface and the like. And the camera, with the camera in the right spot, your point of perception, there's a shoe there, there's a glass or whatever. Then he just kind of takes the paper that's written on him, shifts it, and all of a sudden you see that it's simply a misperception of what's actually there. This is the whole thrust of non-dual self-inquiry. What's really there? What are my illusions? If we accept the fact that what we experience as the world is almost entirely our perception of it and not what it actually is, we can begin to grasp that we're not walking through the reality. We're walking through our minds. We're walking through our perception of things. And it's such a powerful thing to recognize. Now, it doesn't undo the fact that our habit energy, the way we've been trained, is to believe that our perceptions are the reality. How many times have we known somebody, maybe just met somebody, and they've turned out to be completely different than your perception of them? Unfortunately, that happens a lot in relationships. Right? This is the most wonderful man in the whole world. I just can't get enough of him. And a year later, it's like you can't stand the way he ties his shoes. Everything becomes annoying. All because of perception. The spiritual quest, the spiritual path, is to transcend, to go beyond our perceptions of things to the reality of what is actually there. Starting with what is the truth of myself? We all have images in our minds that we believe to be myself. Pictures of me and ideas and habits and memories, all sorts of things that form this perception in the mind of this is who I am. Now, really believing that that's the case, we will interpret what's coming in from our senses, what we're actually experiencing around us, according to that. It will always seem to fulfill our perception because the perception isn't aware that it's only seeing this tiny little bit. It's not seeing the whole picture. It's only looking from a very minuscule and distorted angle of perception. So how then do we know who we actually are? How do we get beyond the illusion? Well, step one, realize that it is an illusion. That the world as we perceive it is a very subjective perception that we're holding in our minds. We may think, man, the world's absolutely wonderful. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Somebody else may think, it's horrible. This is terrible. Look at all the things that are happening. The world's an utterly disastrous state. Well, who's right? Well, everybody and nobody is right. What's really out there? Now, once you recognize that what you believe things to be becomes a perception, and so you will perceive it as if they are true, but what you believe them to be is not what they are. If we can start there, then we can begin to go, okay, well, what isn't an illusion? I mean, my senses are limited, aren't they? By definition. They don't take in the whole range of the experience of existence. Your eyes see only a small portion of the frequencies of light. Even with our instrumental extensions and radio telescopes and the like. Okay, so now they see this much as opposed to this, which they then take and convert into images so we can see it, so we can try to make some sense out of it. But even that's incomplete. Even that's only a fraction of what's actually happening out there. So it's impossible for us to perceive as things actually are. And recognizing that even what our senses take in, now your eye out in the desert doesn't see water. It's just collecting light. That's it. It doesn't identify, it doesn't say label anything, nothing. All of that's coming after the fact by the mind, which is like putting it into compartments, and that's all based on your conditioning and your culture and everything else. The truth is, none of our perceptions are actually real. They're illusions. But it does beg an important question. What is, uh, uh, what isn't an illusion? What's real then? Hmm? Well, the good news is that an illusion can't have an illusion. Illusion is a misperception. It has to be perceived by somebody in order to be an illusion. The illusion doesn't have itself. Whatever's perceiving it isn't an illusion. Can't be. It actually exists. Right? So we start there. You are having an illusion. You have illusions about the world, about our perceptions, about what things are made of, about my friends and other people, and most importantly, about myself. So, since that's the case, there must be somebody here having that illusion. That isn't an illusion. And that's where we start. You know that you are, don't you? It's not an illusion. If it's an illusion, what's seeing the illusion? Somewhere there is something that just is. But since it is you that's having it, you, as you really are, not the illusory version of you, as you really are, is in fact real. I take enormous comfort in that. I don't know about you, but I go, oh, there is a place, a reference point, a place where I can kind of set up shop. Whatever I am, and I don't know because I've just been conditioned to think and perceive myself in all sorts of different ways that are probably not, almost certainly not true, and whatever truth is there is limited. It's only a perception of it. But I am real. I am here. There is a real me. Is it possible to know that? Well, that is the big that's the big question, isn't it? The sages and masters of all time have said yes. Yes, there is. There is a way to know you. but you cannot know yourself through perception. You cannot know yourself through ideas you have about yourself, because by definition, they're not you. They're a thought about you. And oftentimes, they're simply a thought about another thought about you. And yet, at the same time, you are really here, aren't you? You really are here. Since that isn't an illusion, that it is a direct seeing, a direct looking, a direct knowing, it's a non-dual recognition. You are recognizing you. Not through perception, not through thought, not through one thing looking at another, but you knowing you, subject to subject, not subject to object. It really does, it's really simple, and it starts there. I am knowing myself directly. That, just the fact that I know that I am, is a non-dual recognition. This is the heart and soul of non-duality. It's not complex. It's not, there's nothing out here. There's nobody exists. It's all, none of that. Forget about that. Is there something out there? It's not important, actually, is it? Because whatever's out there, I'm going to be misperceiving anyway. What's in here? What is it that's perceiving it? To what are all the perceptions, even the illusion, reporting? What's actually doing the seeing? Well, I am. Is there any question about you existing? Do you know that you are? It's a non-dual recognition. It's not because you looked in the mirror and you saw that you were there. There's just a sense. We all have it. I am. Dogs have it. Everything that lives has the sense. I am. What's unique about the human being is we have the capacity to actually know it, to be aware of the fact that we are aware. It's the only thing that separates us. The rest is all superficial. The rest is just the characteristics of the body and the energy and all of that. The only gift we really have is this recognition that I'm aware and I know it. I know that I am. Conscious recognition. And that is all there is to non-duality. That's self-inquiry. I know that I am. Now notice, it's not because somebody told you. Your parents didn't sit you down one day to have the talk. Well, you are. Yeah, really? Never happened. We just know. Start there. You are here. And stay there. Don't add anything more onto it. Don't add any concepts to it. Don't add any perceptions to it. Don't add any nice spiritual ideas to it. Just, I am recognizing myself. I am. Just give that attention. Since we know that's true, we can anchor ourselves there. Because it's not an illusion. Since that is true, and I can anchor myself there, from there, all the rest can unfold. But what that means is relying more on the sense I am than on our ideas, our concepts, our beliefs, our assumptions, our perceptions, all of the stuff that we have lived according to, and go, no, can't be. It's an illusion about me, but I know me directly. I don't need to know me through a thought or a concept or an idea. I don't need to. I know me. It's a different kind of knowing. Call it Vedanta or Jnana, which is wisdom, Prajna, which is another way of putting it. But this is the wisdom whose reference point is your very being. The one thing you can know for certain, at least at first. All sorts of things can be known for certain after that, but it's got to start with that. This is why I emphasize it so much. This is why I put so much importance on doing the self-inquiry and pointing to the self we're inquiring into, not the images in our minds, which are fleeting and changing, aren't they? Right? The image you have of yourself from 5 years ago doesn't match the one you have now at all. Nor will it match the one 5 years from now. Those are unstable. They're shifting and changing, which means they're perceptions. They're not the reality. Reality doesn't need to change. One reality doesn't become another reality. Truth doesn't become falsity and then become truth again. Those are beliefs and ideas. They come and go. Like empires, they come and go. They rise and fall. This story is now the story for a while, and then it fades away. Right. So, I guess I can leave it. I can leave it at that, and see some questions beginning to pop up, which is always good. That's what we're here for. But you know, in Tea with G, which is a satsang, my job is to always point you back to the essential. Not give advice, not say this is the way it could be, or certainly not give you any more concepts about who you are, any more ideas or beliefs. Self-inquiry is not about beliefs. It's not a theology or a philosophy or an ideology of any kind. It is a looking. It's a learning how to look and see without without preconceptions, presumptions. It's a looking. We're just looking, and you see for yourself. When you see it, it's obvious. Like your existence, it's obvious, right? Your mind doesn't know what to do with that, right? Because you can't really wrap a form or a shape or an idea around it, because it's just a fact. It's just there. So anyway, all right. Hello, Rosario, and there's Mary and Ava and Sally and David. Thanks for keeping it real. You're very welcome. I will try to continue to keep it real. Hello, Ida. Good to see you. Good to see you. There's Fatima. Yeah, illusion doesn't mean hallucination, right? No, they're very different. Slovakia. Dave in the lane. Hello, guys. Hello. There's Daryl. Good day. GPL. Greetings. Beautiful Maryland. Fullest. Good to see you, Daryl. Godwin's name. Hello to you, Sylvia Taby. I'm seeing and hearing you. Is this an illusion or a delusion? How to reduce ruminating, overthinking, fear of the unknown. So leads to, let's say, okay. So, okay. No. When you're in the desert, you see the desert. Is that an illusion? No. Is the heat an illusion? Is me an illusion? No. They're not illusions. An illusion is a misperception of what's there. If you think there's a mirage in the mirage is an illusion, not the desert, right? So it's not a delusion either. A delusion is just a really deeply held illusion about ourselves, right? Or about the world. Right? that is so entrenched in us that even when all the facts contradict it, we hold to it anyway. The one I love to use is racism, racial bigotry, the idea of white supremacy, that one race is more intelligent, and they're the best of all. It's a delusion. It's a total delusion. All the evidence contradicts it. There's absolutely no evidence to sustain it whatsoever, yet people will cling to it because their sense of identity gets tied up. Who will I be if I'm not that? And it gets into a whole other area that ultimately only self-reflection or self-inquiry can get to the root of it, to the root of it. So recognize that to reduce your rumination, overthinking, and fear of the unknown, I say, instead of, you see the ruminating, you see the overthinking, you see the fear of the unknown. You see it, right? They're appearing before you. But you're not always ruminating, not always overthinking, and you're not always terrified of the unknown. They all come and go, don't they? But something's there that that knows they're coming and going, and it gets all pulled into it while they're there. But then it's gone. Something distracts you, or something. At least, if nothing else, you fall asleep, and that's not going on. Right? So, what you're asking me is, how do I get the ruminating or overthinking to stop? Right? Well, you can't. The more you try to get it to stop, the more you feed it, because you've created a relationship with it, and it's now being powered by your dislike of it, your fear of all of that, because it doesn't have any. It's an illusion. It doesn't have any. There's no water in the mirage. But if we believe that there is, I'm going to keep running towards it. I'm going to keep moving towards it. So put all your attention on you that sees the overthinking, and drop the idea of trying to get rid of it. You are in an identity of somebody who's, if I get rid of this ruminating and overthinking and the like, excuse me, then I'll be happy and everything will be okay. And so now that's the identity. And what's that identity going to do? It's going to create a perpetual fight with thinking. If I can get rid of it. You can't get rid of thinking. You can't get rid of the sun shining. You can't get rid of the wind blowing. It is simply the function of the body-mind mechanism. Don't make anything of it. Who are you? You're the one that sees it. Right? The illusion is that it is an important thing that I have to get rid of. That's the illusion. And so now you're fighting with something that isn't even there. You've created a belief about it that isn't true. Just notice it. Every time you find yourself engaged in overthinking, oh, there, I'm overthinking. Oh, but I know I'm overthinking. And try to bring your attention back to yourself, the one who is aware of the thinking. Notice it's coming and going, it's coming and going. The thoughts are going by. And then see if you can notice that you even have an attachment to an identity that believes that I'm only going to be happy if I get rid of that. So self-inquiry does not lead to overthinking. It doesn't. Thinking about that, the trying to get a different thoughts about myself does, because that just spins and spins and spins. Self-inquiry is look at yourself, the self that actually exists. Thoughts come and go. You don't. That's a fact. That's not a thought. That's a fact perceived. I'm here. I exist. Just notice that. They might go, yeah, but so what? But I got to do it. And then you go, oh, right? No, that's just a bunch of thoughts. Now, this isn't necessarily easy for everyone. So, you know, there have been times, and sometimes still is, when there's so much clutter going on. It's like I can't find that place for the life of me, for 2 seconds. But then I recognize that even that is being seen, and I invite myself into an even deeper seeing than than I've known before. That even the one that feels frustrated because all this stuff is going on is also seen. So self inquiry is looking at yourself, not the ideas about yourself, but you, that which is aware of the ideas. So I don't come out of the circle of inquiring about oneself and actually get engaged in the thinking about self, which strengthens the ego. Get engaged in thinking out of the circle of inquiring. If you're in a circle of inquiring, you're thinking. You're thinking about, you're looking for an idea of you. And this is the big mistake, and it's not just you, it's everyone. Everyone thinks, knowing who I am, there's going to be a clear picture in my mind of who I am. Any picture is a perception and is not the truth. It can't be, because you, the perceiver, cannot perceive yourself. You can't do it. You're not two. I can perceive anything other than myself, but I cannot perceive me, ever. This is why we look instead to just the direct insight that I am, because that's not one thing knowing another. I can say this cup is, I can see it, I can touch it, and I feel. I can't do that with me. I can't step outside of me and look back at me. So stop looking, everybody, stop looking for the answer to who am I as some idea, some concept, some important insight or event or discovery or aha or explosion or whatever you want to call it, enlightenment. Don't look there. It's not there. It's the one looking. And obviously, the one looking can't be seen. Your eye doesn't see itself, can't, ever, never has, never will. So the ego is what is holding on to an image that it's trying to get of itself, and is saying, "Look, self-inquiry just leads to overthinking," right? Because it's not self-inquiry. Right? It's a thinking about me, looking for a better idea of myself. There are no better ideas of yourself. You are not an idea. You're not a concept. You're not a thought. Seeing yourself, knowing that you are, is, oh, it's happening again. It's been happening regularly. I'm freezing up here. I think you can all still hear me though. It's all right. I'm just gonna have to restart the camera. See what happens. Turn it back on. Let's see what happens. So anyway, yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. I have to figure that out, but I will. Oh, now I bent it over, so it's, yeah. There we go. There, we're all set. So, um, everybody, please grasp that. It is so essential. Essential. You cannot perceive yourself, which is that simple fact is what does away with all human knowledge. That's why it's called Vedanta, the end of knowledge. It's not just another good idea. It is the end of ideas. You cannot know yourself as an idea. You're not an idea. When you simply know that you are, right? You are, right? Self-evident, I exist. That's not a thought. It's not a concept. It's 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 your actual experience. That's self-inquiry. Period. All the rest is the mind trying to imitate self-inquiry and create a better version of you. That's it. Carl. Hey, GP, are the things that are difficult in my life only that way because I have a belief that it has to be difficult? Um, mm, this is a fine point here. This is a very fine point here. There is a school of thought, and at one level, this is the case. People say, because I think it's going to be difficult, I'm going to experience things as difficult. And that's true. If I really believe everything's difficult, then my experience of everything is going to be difficult whether they are or not. So then the question becomes, well, is anything difficult or easy other than what I believe, what is believed? The answer to that is no. Nothing is difficult or easy in and of itself. And this is not, this is, again, this isn't like esoteric, right? Something that is very difficult for one person, the very same thing is easy for somebody else. Even people of different skill and or different the same skills and abilities doing something, one's going to perceive it as difficult, the other is as easy. And also, no, there's nothing to it. An event happens in the world and they go, and somebody goes, oh my God, the sky's falling. And somebody else going, yeah, no big deal. So there's nothing difficult or easy about anything inherent in the thing. It is all our perception of it. Right? So when you say things are difficult in my life, where's that coming from? Now, I'm not trying to say that if I know it's all difficult, that everything now is going to conform to be what I believe easy to be, because that's also a belief. That's also our perception. Things are what they are. Some things in our life require a lot of attention. They require a lot of effort, of energy, of money, and time. Other things don't. I can call them difficult and say, I hate doing this, and now I will suffer for doing it. Or I can say, this is what it is. It's neither difficult nor easy. This is what it requires in this moment, and I'm here to do it. So I'm doing it, and it isn't easy or difficult. Our experience of it can be, but that's, again, it's completely subjective. So I'm not saying you're supposed to now try to make everything easy, because now you're just trying to manipulate the mind. Things come, right? Some things make little demands on us, like you dispense with it in a moment. Others make really big demands on us. And it really acquires time and attention. You don't have to say, oh, this is really difficult. Don't add to it by creating a psychological suffering, which, oh, it's so difficult, which becomes resistance to it. Right? Some things do demand more, some things demand less. That's a fact. Right? Difficult and easy, they're useful terms when I'm talking about it to somebody else, when you're talking about, anybody talks about somebody else, but they're not absolute. It's all a matter of our experience. And what we want to do is, I'm not trying to make what we call the hard things easy. I'm trying to eliminate anything that's been added on top of that that's creating suffering. Things will be what they are, requiring what they are. If I just accept that, and that's fine, I let that be as it is, even aware of the fact that I wish it was easier, different, coming out in a different way. That's there too. but without an attachment to that, there's no suffering there. And that's what we eliminate. It's the most important thing to eliminate, the first thing to eliminate. Then we can begin to actually look at, well, who is it that says this is easy and this is difficult? Because obviously, if I say this is easy and this is difficult, I've got an image of myself in relationship to those. If somebody else is there, they no, that's not, that's difficult. That's easy. Right? So I've taken a position about that. So now we're not out of just the metaphysics of if I believe it, it's going to be that way. I'm looking at me again. I'm bringing it back to self-inquiry. Who is it that's looking at that and interpreting it as that way or the other? That's much more important, because it's only difficult or easy depending on who I think I am. That's what's making the decision. So now I can ask that. Wow. Who am I believing myself to be? Me. That I regard things, that I have these perceptions. And is that one really me? What happens is that one and its positions starts becoming, instead of just being assumed, suddenly now it's an energy, a form that you can see. If you can see it, it's not you. That's not me. There's something else deeper than that that's seeing that. Who's that? This is self-inquiry. That's how it works. So, hello, Rabi, buddy in Romania. Fatima, you can know yourself through meditation. As I said it once, since I am meditating, it seems like the meditation is meditating me or becoming me. How should I say it? Suddenly, it is not a doing, not a conceptual thing. Very good. Very good. Yeah, now don't, you can know yourself through meditation. If the meditation is not an attempt to change, to get into a different state of consciousness, but is simply a quiet withdrawing, seeing all experience as phenomenal, as appearing to you, and becoming aware of you, aware of all of that, aware of being aware. Now meditation is also self-inquiry. You're looking for you, not an end result of meditation. Not because it'll have a very, meditation has a wonderful effect. That's why they teach it in hospitals and even in the business schools now how to meditate, right? To because it can get an effect of a calm and a clearer mind. But if that's the intent, it's not going to reveal who you are. It's only going to be aimed at making some kind of state occur. But if instead it's just a continual withdrawing, more and more, it's inevitable that that the question is going to arise: who is it that's seeing all of this? Who am I? And now what you have is the I am meditating on the I am, which is the ultimate meditation. And yet it will feel as though it's happening all by itself, because it is. The idea of a person meditating is just an idea. The I am, the sense of my own being, is looking at itself. So that's non-dual meditation. But you can see there's not much difference between that and self-inquiry. They really go hand in hand. So that that's satisfying for you. Carl, the awareness brings me much peace, and yet sometimes it feels like it is bypassing, trying to escape the human experience. Okay. Um, the very fact that you're asking me that, you're asking me is, am I trying to bypass or escape the human experience? I just simply ask, are you? Is that what you want? Is that your intention? I know you well enough to know that it isn't. That's not what you want. Right? Which is why this question becomes important, because I don't want to do that. I want to be sincere. Your sincerity about this is what invokes the grace that is taking you through this. Right? So you see the awareness, and there's a peace there. Great, wonderful. It's also a clarity that comes. Right? Now, what happens then, though, is the mind, the habitual patterns of the mind, because in pure awareness, there isn't an object there that the mind can hold on to. It is dubious about this entire process. So the mind's going to say, this is bypassing. No, we need a clear conceptual answer that I can hold on to. This is what's going on under the surface. So you're being accused of the bypassing when you're not. And of course, the mind will work in the other way as well. With people who aren't bypassing, it'll say, oh, no, we're not. Those who actually are trying to avoid feelings, but you're not. That's not why you really do want to know who you are. So now, when you get that sense of peace, and the mind starts acting up because you're like, you're like in the process of overthrowing its authority. You simply say, well, okay, well, who's aware of that peace? What's aware of the peace? Yeah, it's very subtle. It's very beautiful, right? But I'm aware of the peace too. Oh my goodness, what's aware of that? Something even more subtle? What's aware of this question, what the mind is saying? Is this bypassing? What's aware of that? Where's the answer going to come from? What's aware even of the peace, even the sense of being, which is perceiving that? Can that be perceived? This is the question you bring into your heart. And believe me, if with that sincerity, if there is some thing there that's trying to bypass, it'll show up, and you'll see it, and you'll recognize it for what it is. That's a part of my psychology that does want to bypass it. But what's going to recognize it as such? The you that doesn't need to bypass anything. The truth will recognize it. And it already has, to the degree, because the possibility that you are makes you feel, oh, I don't want to do that. This no good. I don't want to do that. That's the very same seeing, taking you a little bit at a time, and it's like a prayer. Just okay. If there is some place where I'm doing that, take it here. Show me. Take it. That's my sincerity wants the real thing. That is the invoker of grace. Don't worry about it then. So, I'm going to have this piece. Tomas, hello, GP. Is God's game eternal? No. If it was, there'd be no waking up. This is we say it's a game. It almost seems like God's this cruel, right? Kind of like in the story of Job, we're on a bet, you know. Yes, Job was this devoted servant. His whole life falls apart, and right, and God's sitting there, and oh yeah, okay, so he really does serve me. Great, I'm going to restore everything to him. It's not like that. I'll just say this for whoever can hear it. You're the God that made the game. You're not in somebody else's game. This is your game. You made to find yourself. Sally, hi GP. Is the personal I and the sense of I the same? No, they're not. The sense of I can simply be there without the without the feeling or notion or idea that that sense of I is a person. Without the inquiry, without some maturing on the path, we can't. It doesn't seem possible for there to be existence without me, a person. But just that your sense of existence, right? Just the sense right now that I am. That's what the I am represents. It's a sense. I exist. I'm here. I don't know what that is, but I just know that I am here. Now, do you need to be a person to know that? Do you need to have any idea about yourself to know that? It's just pure being, pure I am. I mean, your pet dog or cat or gerbil has that sense. I am. They have no thoughts. They have no concept. They're not a person to them. There's nothing. It's just pure instinct and the like, and the sense I am. We have the sense I am, and are aware of the sense I am, and out of that has come the sense of it being a person, the capacity to identify with things, to identify with the things that we are perceiving, and then become them and experience them. We taste them and we enjoy them, and then we hate them. We enjoy them, we want more. We hate them, we try to get rid of them. But eventually, the the whole thing becomes a little bit, I don't want to say boring, but it's like repetitive. It's this is Shiva's wheel. It's the same thing over and over again. Isn't there more? And now the sense I am this or that, I am this person, turns around and starts walking back. The I is going home to the Father. The prodigal son is headed back home. He's exhausted all of his pleasures. And now it's just like, even my pleasures don't have the same flavor anymore. It's like any addiction. After a while, the addiction doesn't serve the purpose that you originally made it for, took it on for, which is some kind of an escape from emotional pain. It doesn't have that effect anymore. Just something inside just wants to go home. And the first thing that happens is the sense of I am this person begins to be touched by the pure sense I am. And then becomes a conscious participant. It just, oh, I know that I am. I just know that I am. And then the teacher says, okay, keep putting your attention there. And your mind will say, yeah, but there's nothing there. What do I need to do? And no. Everything else is after the fact. It's the person, the personal identity, the personal sense that I need to do something that wants to pull attention away from this. But I don't need anything to be. And if this is the pure being, this is the I am, then all of creation, the entire universe, has emerged from it. But to come to see that, I need to keep bringing my attention back to I I am. Empty of all concepts and ideas, I simply am. No memories, no past, no future, no birth, no death, just I am. And out of that, this perfume of, of peace that has been felt, of clarity, of understanding, of wisdom, the capacity to see, oh my God, I've been identified with that, which then was trust. It's all coming out of that, which you are, because you are that. I am. You can say, I am that, right? I don't know what that is. And that's the thing, because we keep wanting to make it into somebody or something that I know. And it isn't a thing that can be known. It's not an idea. The Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. Any idea, concept, however beautiful, subtle it is, cannot be you because you're perceiving it. Can the perceiver be perceived? Can the knower be known as anything at all? It's not nothing. It's not a thing, an object, a shape, a form, content, something that has some kind of a definition, something perceivable. Does that answer it for you, Sally? 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 Is there any technique and system to bring back my attention to who is ruminating, overthinking? Yeah. I just gave it to you. There's no magic bullet, right? You've developed a habit, as we all have. This is just pointing the finger at you. We've all developed the habit over lifetimes of giving our attention to thinking. In this case, ruminating or overthinking. It could be fear, it could be lust, it could be anything, right? That gets our attention. There's only one way. There's only one way to free yourself from that, and that's to stop giving it attention. Period. No magic bullet here. Just every time you recognize that you are giving it attention, you bring it back. If you have to, just put it on your breath. Bring it into your body. Feel your body instead of the thinking, right? The thinking cannot survive without your attention. And your attention can be an indulgence of it because you're not aware. It can also be fighting with it. How do I get rid of it? Is more ruminating. It's the same thing. So you completely pull it back. It may be back for half a second, boom, and then it's off again. Bring it back. That's it. That's all you can do. You want to learn how to bench press 200 pounds. Well, start with 20. You can do 20, we'll make it 25, and you keep going until you get there. This is the practice. I don't know of any other practice. There isn't anything magic here. But this practice is also at the same time self-inquiry, because you're not bringing your attention back nowhere. You're bringing it back first to your direct experience of yourself. Maybe it's just a feeling of the body. My body is here. I'm breathing. I can breathe. And sometimes overthinking, just stop and take 3 deep breaths. I recommend that to people all the time. Just take some breaths. And you'll feel the pull, the habit pull, trying to drag you back into engagement with the mind. That pull is that's not going to go away until you have taken the authority to bring this back here, to bring attention back to here. There is no other way. You could take plant medicine and stuff that will temporarily put that in abeyance. There are yogic practices you can do to get to levels of samadhi, but they only work while you're doing them. The moment the medicine wears off, it's all right back. The moment you're not in that state of samadhi, bam, it's all right back. Those are practices that will put it in abeyance, but not eliminate it. Only this will eliminate it. Try for yourself. See if I'm right. See if I'm wrong. Does religion help? Praying can help. Yeah, please deliver me from my ruminating and overthinking. Lord, I give it to you. And if you really do that, sincere prayer, I surrender it completely to you. And then whatever it pops up, you just go, I give it to you. I give it to you. You don't hold on to it. Don't do anything with it. Really give it over. Really surrender it. Not just I surrender it. Now what am I going to do about it? It doesn't work that way. You're going to give it. It's a surrender. It's a total surrender. You wave the flag. It's not conditional. You're not in the position to make a deal. I give it to you. That's real religion. It doesn't even matter who you think you're giving it to. It doesn't matter. I'm giving it to Jesus. I'm giving it to Moses. I'm giving it to Elijah. I'm giving it to Buddha. I'm giving it to your favorite guru. It doesn't matter. Because it's the heart. It's the heart reaching out beyond itself. So, Ravo, what is imagination? Oh, I'm out. Oh my God, I'm out. Well, it's most, it's a blessing and a curse, right? I mean, we have the capacity, the incredible capacity to envision, to see things that aren't here yet, to actually picture something, hear some things in your mind that are simply creative, purely creative. It's a capacity we all have. That very same capacity, without this understanding and attention on the I am, which is aware of the imagination will create all sorts of ideas and concepts about who we are, what the world's like. We then believe the imagination and think that our imagined ideas are the reality. We experience that reality and all the suffering and problems and difficulties that come from it because it's imaginary. It's not real. It's like, you look in the cloud and you see a face, or you see a beautiful body, or it's not in the cloud. It's not there. It's here. We're all projecting it. Right? People who see Jesus in the pattern in their toast, right? It's not in the toast. Jesus isn't there. Projections of the mind. Imaginary. Recognize what's imaginary as imaginary frees us from being imaginary. The mirage in the desert is imaginary. That's imagination mistaken for reality. That's illusion or delusion. There's nothing wrong with imagination. I mean, goodness, art, literature, dance, music, all of that's just architecture. The architect looks at this place to put a house. He looks at everything around it. And coming out of nowhere, this creative thing, this creation begins to take shape. First as images, right? And then as, things that are more practical and stuff. And before you know it, there's an actual house that people are living in, set in this particular setting. It's beautiful. It is the creative power of the self, this infinite intelligence, manifested in form in a particular instance at a particular time. It's not coming from the form through which it is appearing, any more than the music is coming from the piano when somebody's playing it. It's coming from somewhere else. The body mind you're seeing vibrates in concert with the intelligence that's unfolding through it. We believe there's a person there that's doing it, and there's no person there. Just like there's no There's no singer in the radio. It's coming through the radio. It's just a vehicle through which it comes. It is not the actual source itself. And having spent many hours and years writing music, I can tell you that what gets actually set down in a form that people's ears can hear is not what I hear in my head. Never. I can never quite get it. Because what here has no limitations. But it has to become limited in order to take a shape in which it can be heard. Because, at least as far as music is concerned, I have a feeling first that has no shape to it whatsoever. And then that begins to take the form. And then that begins to conform itself to whatever instruments it here, drums and piano or violin and oboe or whatever's palette is available, which is, different age to age, right? There was no electronic music to speak of when I was young. I was in college and they got their first Moog synthesizer. Started, and that whole revolution took place, and then sample libraries and stuff. Prior to that, what was it was a different palette, right? So just don't mistake the radio for the source. That's it. Everything I'm speaking right now is not coming from this body mind. It is coming through it. And there's nobody here. There's nobody here that has to appeal to. There's no intermediary. That's the mirage in the desert. Because I believe myself to be a person, I project that onto everybody else, and I think there's a person there. There isn't. It's a mirage. It's an illusion. Yeah. So it's quite a far afield from your question. Maybe it was much more simple than my answer, but I hope that's useful to everybody. To see that what we think about others too is also part of this thing we call illusion. So, Peter in Italy, good to see you, Peter. Good. AK 11020. That's like a spy name or something. The awareness that is ever present watches everything, every state of mind, each and every coming and going. It's silent and mute. It sees the imperfections, perfections. Was there before the meditation starts and is there during and afterwards. So who is that meditate? What irony. Lovely. And who is it that self-inquires? Who is it that watches self-inquiry happening? Who is it that watches when there is no self-inquiry? Yes. Beautiful, AK. I just have to call you AK. It's your nickname now, AK. Yes. Who is it? Isn't it you? Everything that you're saying here, right? Who knows that? Who recognizes that is true? Okay? Well, I do have to be the answer. But the moment that happens, the mind will be there with all sorts of images and like, but just stay there. Because this means I am the self. I am the ultimate perceiver. I am that which sees the imperfections and the perfections that was there before the meditation starts, is there during and afterwards. Who is it that meditates? Well, it's me without me. Who is it that self-inquires? Who is it that watches it? Well, isn't it you? But it's you without you. As Ramana beautifully put it, the I removes the I and yet remains the I. This is the place we get to that just the habit energy of the mind just does not want to acknowledge that. Right? And so there will be a sense of it being acknowledged, right? But it's not there. Don't pop the champagne cork on the champagne quite yet. Just notice. Maya is very clever. Right there, where you're seeing that I am the one seeing it, shoop, there'll be, oh yeah, look at me, I'm seeing it now. And be another shape will begin to take place. Just this is the moment. Just prayer. Just yes. Thank you. Thank you for revealing this to me. And I know that even the one here thanking you is also seen. I know that. And so you just let your heart reach out to be taken all the way home. And you'll know when that is. So, hearts to you too, Megan. Megan O'Bannon. What a great name. Uh, Thank you, GB. I got it. I felt it. I feel liberated. Boy. Yes, yes. See, it isn't that hard. The mind wants to make it hard, turn it into something. It isn't. That's what the mind says about it. What could be easier than being what you already are? It's effortless. It says, listen to and practice. It's the only one who helped me cut through the crap. You're next. Sylvia B. But ideas exist, so they are part of reality. Even the ideas not perceived. I don't get the last part, because an idea is perceived. It's a form that's emerging. So, yes, of course. The only thing anything can emerge from is what is the reality. Right? They don't have reality separate from that. So the idea isn't a thing running around. The idea can't exist without you, can it? So you are its reality. So it doesn't have an inherent existence. No idea does it? Without somebody believing it, where's an idea? They got it, some in the drawer you're keeping, or walking outside, they're in the bushes and they jump on you somewhere. You can't separate them from you, right? So when you look and you see an idea, you are perceiving it. And its only existence is you perceiving it. Your knowing of it is the only existence it has. You, on the other hand, are not dependent on anything to exist. You are existence itself, which gives existence to ideas and thoughts and concepts, all of which emanate from you as the reality, not as separate things, not as a thing in and of itself. A flash, a moment, a reflection, the moon in the water. It's exactly, it looks like the moon if the water's still. It does represent the moon, but it is not the moon. This is all of our, what we would call true ideas, right? Which aren't truth in themselves, which is what we're doing right here. We're trying our darndest to express truth any way we can, right? And we use words to do that, and we know they're clumsy, so we do it really finely, as best we can. We manipulate language as best we can to try to get it across. But so the ideas are perceived. Just don't another idea will come, right, to try to make that idea something separate from you. The same thing, whatever the idea is, whether the idea be something beautiful and wonderful or be terrifying, it can only be terrifying if you think it exists separate from you. If it doesn't, then it's just a thought that came, right? That's all it is. It doesn't have any existence other than that. So there isn't anything to be afraid of. So if the world disappeared and some ideas were never perceived, didn't they exist? Does a perception exist? The most accurate answer is they both do and do not. An idea exists. That is, I have the experience of an idea. I experience that, right? It's nothing we need to deny or not. And I have an idea and then it's gone. And I have a memory of it, which is another idea, right, that I'm experiencing. I experienced it. It came in and went. Its existence was contingent on me. Right? So it had a temporary sense of existence, right? But not an actual existence as reality. A manifestation, but not the thing, but not the actual thing itself. Because without you, it would never have existed. Without you, it could not exist at all. And without a memory of it, it has no existence. But of course, it doesn't exist in that moment. It comes in and goes out, right? It doesn't. Now, a thought that is a memory of that exists in the moment, and then that's gone. It may pop up again, and then that's gone. And that's gone. So we want to make a distinction between something that has a momentary call existence, comes up and then disappears, and that which is not something that is coming and going, something that is perceiving everything that is, period. It is what is. It is not derived from anything else. It is not divisible. It is not reducible. It is the ground of all being. Everything else that is experienced draws its temporary existence from that which actually is and isn't coming and going and isn't dependent upon anything else. Everything else is dependent on something else. You know, the word existence in the original, I believe it's Latin, maybe Greek, right? Existere is where it comes from. And it means, it doesn't refer to what we think of existence as it's real, because we think everything we perceive with our senses is real rather than a perception, because it isn't real. That is, having an independent existence other than our perception of it. But the word existere refers to, it means to come out from. So it's like something like comes out of the background and then fades back into the background. Something appears and then disappears. It's the background is there. It comes out of the background and then disappears into the background. Like the picture you're seeing of me right now, right? Is it real? Does it exist? Well, yes. And the moment I said yes, that was gone. That doesn't exist anymore. But remember, what you are seeing is an appearance that we would say on this screen, but that's not really accurate. It's not on the screen. It is the screen. The screen is turning little the little bits of light, the LEDs or LCDs or whatever they are, that go on and off 60 times a second and are capable of making this range of color that gives the appearance of a picture and moving pictures. We say, oh, look, the picture on the screen. It's not on the screen. It is the screen. It is the screen modulating itself into all sorts of different shapes and forms. You can't separate it. And when you're looking at me, you're also looking at the screen, but your attention is on me, so you don't notice the screen. Now I brought your attention. Oh, yeah, I'm looking at the screen at the same time. This is what it is. The screen is the permanent, the real, the unchanging. The pictures are the screen appearing in a million, all sorts of different forms. And of course, when you turn the picture off, which is what we do in self-inquiry, what's left? Oh, just the empty screen, blank. It's there. Potential for everything is there. But nothing is perceived. But it doesn't need to be perceived. It just is. It's a metaphor for what this is. There is no separation between the appearance and that which it is an appearance of. Both form and the formless are one. This is the real non-duality. It isn't the formless is the real and this is the unreal. It's only unreal if you separate it from what it is. Can you separate the picture of me on your screen right now from the screen? You can't do it. It doesn't exist. So it doesn't have inherent reality, but it gives expression to that which does. And it does that because its existence is a flash. It's just poof. In a sense, if you look at, I mean, no matter how thinly you slice time, you will never find an object that has an existence, even for a tiniest little fraction of time. Your mind cannot grasp this. It's like you won't find anything permanent, no matter how small. I'm talking about years, something that exists for years, something that exists for a trillionth of a second. You will not find it because there's no thing there. There's only just there's only reality knowing itself. And that is the substance of it. Self-modulation, like the self-modulation of the screen. Is everybody following that? Did I lose anybody? Yeah. So let's be really clear about that word existence so we don't get confused about it, right? If we're using the word existence as something being independent, objective, on its own, without any dependency on anything else, right? There's only one thing that fits that bill, and that is you, the self, that which actually is. Everything else is an appearance of it. Just like the image of me on the screen right now is an appearance of the screen. It is the nature of the screen itself. And this does not exist separate from the screen. It's a good metaphor. I can feel your mind's kind of going, because your mind, by definition, is trying to find something that exists, an object that exists. There isn't one. And that which does exist is not an object. It has no form, no shape, no boundaries, no beginning, no end. It just is. AK, thank you for the great pointers. You're welcome. Thank you for the great questions, everybody. L, only the self exists and gives life to all objects perceived. Yes. But and is the life of all objects that it is perceiving. Let's go all the way with this. Let's go dive all the way down the rabbit hole. Let's join Alice all the way down. Only the self exists. Okay, right, good. So that means since it's the only thing that actually is, only reality, then it's not giving life to anything. It is the life of all objects which it itself is perceiving. They could not exist otherwise. So this is only the self, the truth, knowing itself directly. It's not knowing as one thing knows another. There isn't anything else for it to know. It's only knowing itself. This is why you put your attention on the sense I am, because you're knowing yourself directly. That's the self. That's it, everybody. That is the self. Hello, hello, Al. Beautiful. Thank you, GP. You're welcome. Did I exhaust your questions? Thoughts seem real because we oxygenate them. Yeah. They no. they they seem real, thoughts seem real to another thought that says they seem real. They are real only in the sense that they are a real expression of reality. But this is the total mystery. There's not anything there. It's not a creation. The sun isn't creating sunbeams. They're simply emanating. And in every sunbeam or ray of light, you see the sun. Its whole existence. The sun goes out, no sunbeams. You turn on a light bulb, no light. It's a constant emanation. Carl, thank you for sharing your Sunday. You're so welcome, Carl. Tomas, is the desire to be desireless also desire? Absolutely. When identified as a person trying to be spiritual, right, which is good, right? I'm not arguing. Boy, I'd rather be in the company. Wouldn't it be great if a bunch of egos that were striving to be spiritual and know the truth were running the world? Wouldn't that be great? So I very much am in favor of everybody in self-improvement and in self-development and really becoming more compassionate and loving and patient and all of that, right? But there's a point at which you have to recognize that identified as a person, as a form, as an individual, with the idea that I'm trying to get to the truth, you're in a catch-22. Right? Because the desire to be desireless is a desire. How do you get out of that? Well, by taking the step back to see even the one that's having the desire is seen. The desire is seen. The idea of desirelessness is seen. It's all felt. That which is aware of it, does it have any desires? Does it need to become desireless or desiring? Isn't desirelessness and desire both appearing to it? Isn't it transcendent of both? Now, desire can be there or not, doesn't matter. You don't need to desire to be desireless because you are inherently beyond both. And you see that desire within the manifestation is part of the manifestation. There's nothing wrong with it. At which point you are desireless in that you're not clinging to the desire and attaching something that doesn't exist there. Like, if I don't get this, I won't be happy. Or if I do get this, oh, it'll be wonderful. Right? Those are all beliefs on top of that which is just there, the experience of desire, which comes and goes. Right? Comes and goes. And that which is aware of them is beyond both desirelessness and desire. I mean, nothing to it. Both have that as its source, that which is beyond. Jacqueline says, what Jesus meant, I am the truth, the life, and the way. Yes, I am that. I am that. Suppose you could say, I am is the truth, the way. But Christ had become so aware of the oneness with God that he could say, I am, and it would be the I am. Now, because we are not so perfectly identified, we still see ourselves as something trying to get to the I am, to that state. We project that on Christ and think the person Jesus is saying, I am the truth. He was not. He was the form through which the truth of being shone through. And the truth of being was the timeless truth, which he called the Father. The Holy Spirit could be also the seeing it as the Holy Spirit, all of those, that the Father and the Son, we're really one. The expression of the Absolute is one with the Absolute, like the picture on your screen is one with the screen. So, um, well, same to you, Ida. Deep thanks as always to you. You're so welcome, David and Lane, my good buddies. Carl, the sensation of doing always keeps a sense of separation from me. For me, is that different than a thought? Um, yeah, the sense of doing. Let's start here for you. Rather than trying to, if there's no doer, we can get so wrapped up in our shorts and that. How do I get rid of the sense of it? How do I get rid of being the doer? Right, which is just the mind trying to figure out how to do it. The mind can't figure out how to do this stuff. Okay, we're in a different realm now. We're in the realm of the non-dual, right? So the mind can't get it. So just all right, fine. The mind can't get it. We have to approach this differently. Okay? There's a sense of doing, right? It doesn't get in the way of anything, right? Like there's a sense I have right now of doing this. Now, that sense is there of a doing, of a happening. Things are going, right? On that is projected the more fundamental belief we all hold that I am a person. So now there is a sense of I'm a person doing this. A lot of people say, okay, that means I don't do anything. Now that's a sense of a person trying to not be a doer. good, good luck with that. You see that they're not the same. There's a sense of doing, and then there's projected on that the illusion of a person doing it. As Buddha put it, he says, there's a road, there's a walking on the road, but there's no traveler. So there's a doing, there's things to be done, there's a doing of them, but there's no doer. Now, trying to express that, people say, well, it's just happening. And that gets very confusing to us. The feeling is if we're doing, it's fine. As long as I don't project a person on it and say, I'm doing it, then it's just a sense I, the conscious being, has that it's like it's doing something. So it's experiencing that, but there's nobody actually doing. It's just what happens. Just like the tree isn't somebody growing, right? It's not making up. I think I'll grow. How many leaves should I grow today? Oh my God. Let me check what else have I got to, I got to suck nutriments up from the soil. Wow. I got to collect sun too. How am I going to ever get this all done? It's just happening, right? Because we don't project a sense of personhood on the trees, on dogs, or anything else. We only do it on humans, on ourselves and on others. But now, I don't want you to take this as a concept. I want you to actually look. Can you see that the sense of doing and the idea that I am doing it, which is a feeling, not just a thought, there's a whole sense there, right? Are not the same. That you could have the sense of doing without having this notion that there's an I doing it, right? And of course, at that point, doing wouldn't be quite the right word anymore. Right? But that's not important, is it? First, see that they're not one. Right? That there's a sense of doing, and then another sense that I am doing it. And dogs do stuff all the time, cats do it, all sorts of stuff all the time without any sense of I am doing it. They're just doing. It's just, you could say it's just happening, but let's not get confused by the words because people, it's just happening. And that becomes another concept you can wrap a lot of spiritual nonsense around. You don't need any of that. Right? Look at what is here. Right? Non-duality is not a teaching. It's not a practice. It's not a. It's not a skill. Well, it's kind of a skill. It's not uh, an object, not an idea. It's not a belief. It's not a system. It's a looking. You're just looking. You are learning how to look with discernment, with clarity, without it being con- separating your assumptions about what is being seen from what is being seen. That's it. That's what's happening. We're separating our beliefs about what is happening, which is being experienced right in front of us, from what is. So we don't see what is through the eyes of our concepts, which is the perception, which is the illusion. We actually see what's going on. Now you can say, I see it as it is. I see the truth. I see the truth of me. Oh, what is it that sees the truth? Well, only the truth can see the truth. I must be the truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. The true I am. The person can't say that. Try. The ego will. Yeah, I'm the way, the truth, and life. I am God. The ego will say that, but it's got a bad smell. You can tell, right? You go, oh, that's not good anymore. It's like old fish. You can tell. Don't be seduced by it. Yeah. So, Ella, it was such a pleasant evening here with you. Thank you. You're welcome. You're so welcome. Pleasant evening with you as well. Jonas, thank you from Jonas and Isabel. Thank you, guys. Lovely. Ava, if I didn't exist, nothing would exist because what exists is merely the experience I am experiencing. So every experience is showing that I am. Yeah, there's no I am to experience it, no experience. So no matter what it is that you're experiencing, wonderful, glorious, light, angelic beings glowing with light, or hell beings, and it's horrible and it's creepy, and without you, then none of them. So everything is saying, I am. Everything is manifesting, I am. Can you see that? Everything says, I am. Everything emanates from that which actually is, which is, I am. Even the sense I am is seen by something that cannot be spoken, which is the absolute, the reality, the awake one. Without experience, I also know that I am, but without I am, there'd be no experience. Yes, even when there's no experience, there is no content, nothing happening, you know it. Something knows, oh, there's no experience going on. It's known, right? So, in the presence or its absence, it's perceived. There's just nothing now. Oh, nothing. I'm still here. Tomas, thank you, GP. You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. Lacey, good to see you, my man. Good to see you. I've missed you at the Self Inquiry Sangha. Love and Light Sangha. What's the sense of boredom, discontent about living alive? Does it happen because we're so concerned with what's going to happen next? Maybe too obsessed with the future? So we can stay away from living right now? You can see it that way. If we were to look at it from the point of view of like emotional healing and the like, that kind of an experience, you'd find that the obsessing about the future is all arising out of the way our minds and nervous systems have developed patterns to keep us from experiencing some emotional pain that is under the surface. And so it's a distraction. And so sometimes it can be difficult to to bring our attention from the future to right now. And there'd be a lot of resistance to it because it happened, because there were genuine things that happened to us that we could not deal with at the time that created trauma. It's big enough, it's going to be called a trauma. But they're just pains that we can't deal with. Usually, and at the essence of them, they're the pain that it wasn't safe for me to be myself. I, as I actually am, were rejected in some way, in some minor way or some big way, by parents, and I'm completely bonded and attached to, and I need them. They're necessary for my life. So those feelings became something I could not allow myself to feel, and so they become suppressed. Now, this doesn't happen in the mind. It's not intellectual. That's not online yet. This is all happening automatically by the nervous system itself. And so over time, it just becomes this habit. And the mind's always looking for ways to keep distracted, to find pleasure and stuff to kind of insulate from that. But at some point, we have to go, no, I need to come back and reclaim this territory. Self inquiry will do that. It will bring that stuff up. And if we try to avoid it, that's the spiritual bypass. Right? But if instead we're just really present with it, recognizing what it is, just some kind of pain we weren't able to feel before, we can be present with it. Sometimes it's severe. I teach tapping and some emotional healing courses and training, immersions that I take people through to work this stuff out and explain it all, where it comes from, so you understand what it's about. But in its essence, it's very simple. Because of that emotional pain or trauma, an entire sense of identity was formed based on not feeling that. A completely different persona that isn't you was created, because the one that isn't you is the one that the environment wants to see, and now you get the attention and love, and you get taken care of, because now you are appearing to the environment the way they want you to appear rather than what you actually are. That disconnect is the disconnect from your soul. Now, that's the essential trauma. And out of that will come the obsession of you. So the obsession of the future itself, it's just one way. Right? It could have happened in a completely different way. It could have been an obsession with pleasure. It could have been an obsession with work or success or any kind of thing that keeps attention away, and then gets in a sense of identity, so that we feel like, oh, I've just got to get further, a bigger payoff, and that sort of thing. So don't be so as concerned about trying to figure out why this is working. Just, oh, I have this concern about the future or what's happening next because something, this energy in me doesn't want to be present in this moment. It's afraid of something in the moment. It's afraid I'm going to get exposed and I'm going to get hurt again. I can't let myself be myself. But of course, isn't that what we're here for? To really be yourself, to be free to be yourself. That's what freedom's all about, isn't it? Even if the self isn't, the self up there, just allowing more of you as you are to appear. So that's this is the process. Now we start by just kind of bringing attention back into the body. What am I feeling in my body? Because that's here and now. It's not in the future. It's right here. What am I feeling now? Oh, it's not comfortable. I want to get away from that. Oh, I noticed that there's a real. So, okay, but I'm just going to be with it. It's okay. It's safe to be with it. It's not going to overwhelm me. Now, oftentimes, these things, I've worked with people with really severe traumas, and it can take somebody with you, right? So there is more sense of a safety there. It's often very hard to do this on our own, sometimes impossible to do it on our own. I once heard it said that the mind is like a dangerous neighborhood. You should never go there alone. And oftentimes to have somebody with you, guide and say, no, it's okay. Let it be there for me. If it's too overwhelming, we'll just back it. It's no problem. It's okay. Just be there with a minute. See what happens. Let's see what happens. And inevitably, because there's a safe space there, something begins to release, to let go, to relax, to calm down. And you find yourself, without even trying, very much in the present moment. The drive to get into the future or to avoid just isn't as strong. This is part of the process of awakening. Love and it's totally a trauma response. I can feel the pain underneath, the things I don't know how to deal with it. Confusion is here. I can't see where to look at. Travel to the root of the trauma. Something keeps me up on the surface. Yeah. Yes. Right. I'm starting a new class, an immersion on. It's for EFT. It's a process I use for this kind of stuff. Right? Eventually, it moves into self inquiry, but oftentimes you can't get right there. It's okay, not a problem. We can, and it is one step at a time. And the level one, which I'm starting a brand new class, is called The Art of Creating a Safe Place, a safe space. You need a safe place for this to happen. You can become aware of it, right? Aware of the pain underneath, but until there's enough safety that you can be with that pain, right, there's no resolution to it. You're running away. We need to cultivate a sense of it being safe to be with us. It was the absence of safety that created the trauma. If it had been safe to be you, there wouldn't have been a trauma. So it was the absence of that is what caused the nervous system to contract, caused the energy to just constrain itself and put it off the side and present a false version of you to the environment to get its needs met. This is the trauma. So if it was not it wasn't safe, was what created it in the first place, what do you think is going to release it? Duh, safety. The art of creating a safe space is that. How do I create a safe, an inner space in me, safe enough? All of this stuff can finally relax and let go. I can be free of the trauma, and I can be free of it all. I can be free to be me, to find out exactly how deep that me goes. So, what's the name of that? Love and light here. Send anybody else. Support at homeschool.co. There's a link to it. Do I have it on a banner here somewhere? No, I don't. Okay. Just support at homeschool.co. If anybody's interested in that. And the people who have been through it, and many of them are right here, gone on to, are now going into level 2. It's just been profound in cutting through the traumas. And I've worked with some people who've had really, really severe childhood traumas. I mean, stuff that I don't even mention. It's just too horrifying to even mention. Yeah. But they're out of it. They've come out of it. This does work. This is what it requires. A safe inner space. Learning how to be a safe place for yourself. And sometimes it's actually necessary to do that before you can get into the depths of non-dual self-inquiry, because without these being known about, at least, self-inquiry itself becomes a bypass. It becomes an end run, trying to avoid these feelings, because the nervous system is so committed to not feeling them, because it thinks, if I feel them, I'm going to die or be utterly humiliated for the rest of my life. Then it's going to do everything in its power to keep that from happening, including misusing non-duality and spirituality and all good practices as yet another way to avoid this. I'm going to become another person, right? Now I'm going to become non-dual inquirer. I'm going to be the seeker. I'm going to be a yoga teacher, whatever it is. But unless, without that emotional pain actually being dealt with through the process of unconditional love and safety, those will all be a bypass. Without that, with that power of to really be present with yourself, then they become authentic. Then they really will be coming out of the expression of your authentic self. And, love and light. Your words are like water to my thirst. So happy to learn about trauma healing with you. We'll totally join the course. Very good. Very good. If you have any questions about it, I'll have you get in touch with uh, Lisa at homeschool.co. Oops. Oh, shoot. Stupid me. Did it again. Lisa at homeschool.co. Or me. Either she or I will get back to you about the questions. It's not very expensive. I've got 4 different ways you can, spread it out over time. If it's still difficult, if it's still financially difficult, so far I've not turned anybody away. We find some way to work it out. Some people live in countries with the exchange rate is just, untenable. It becomes a month's salary when for here it isn't. So, yeah, I'd love to have you there. Love to have you there. So let's see. Sally, no content, nothing happening is when you're in deep sleep. Yet you know you are in deep sleep, yes. But not a thought, I'm in deep sleep, because that would be content. There's just the knowing. I'm here. I still exist. I don't go out of existence in deep sleep. Anything you want to get rid of will grow more. Inquire who claims you have trauma? Well, yeah, yes. But, yeah. You don't want to do that prematurely. You don't want to try to turn non-dual inquiry into a way of avoiding. That's all I'm cautioning about. Trauma never happened to you. The real you, the original innocence, the thing that's there all along. It happened to the nervous system. It's the way the nervous system responded to the experience that it was having, and its ability, and how safe or unsafe it felt. So trauma is an actual condition that happens within the human nervous system. When that happens, which means it gets stuck in a frozen state, the sense of identity forms referring to that, and now you think of yourself as a traumatized person. It's a much more advanced way of looking at it. You were not traumatized. The person who is identified with the trauma is a creation of the mind and isn't really real in that. But our experience of that is a real experience we're having. Just knowing that isn't enough. Without the unconditional love and that sense of presence and safety that is a manifestation of that which is beyond, and not just a nice idea about it. It's the actual presence of that love. In that light, it melts. It melts away. That's why you have somebody like Christ, the very manifestation of love itself, walking around. But it was manifest. It wasn't love as a concept or an idea. It was there. Flesh and blood. The Word was made flesh, dwelt among us. Folks, that's you. You are that. Your human self and the infinite unknowable self are one and the same. I and my Father are one. The self appears as Love and Light Sangha, Sally, David and Elaine. Not separate. Not getting rid of any of these. Not going anywhere. because they are just the manifestation, which is the picture on the screen, the picture that is the screen. So it is a redemption of, of the human, not just a getting rid of it, not just a bypassing of it. What isn't real, which is clouding the works, is the sense of a person, which means I, GP or Sally or David and Lane or anybody, Robbie, exist as an entity in and of themselves, and now is trying to get back to its source. The illusion is it was never separate from it. It couldn't be. It's not possible. Which is why you can't get back to it. Which is why even the seeker, which is an absolutely essential phase that this process goes through, is eventually seen as yet another appearance and not the reality. It's part of the dream. And that it is a manifestation in time of the timeless, of the eternally awake, the one that is never slept. And all of this is the content that is the manifestation of that, of you. Love and light. I don't like to do good. It just numbs and yes, good. Glad to hear that. Done it for years, just made me duller. Yes. Yeah. I'll show you how to do it in such a way that that it won't dull you anymore. You'll see clearly. That's the whole. Lots of people. I think more than half of the people who were in the first time I did the level 1, the art of creating a safe space, who just had all sorts of non-dual questions. They kind of rolled into each other, containing that to keep focused, so it didn't become just dull and rote and a way of avoiding, but was actually the stepping stone to get there. And now they're all believers, not because I told them, because they've seen for themselves. There's a process there that emotional healing plays a part in. And eventually the techniques of emotional healing are no longer needed. They're outgrown. They're subsumed into real non-dual inquiry, which transcends, but does not leave it out, does not deny. Right? A lot of times you'll find the non-dual people will try to deny that, it doesn't exist. There is no such thing as trauma, or anybody who's traumatized. Which is the mind appropriating non-dual language to avoid its own pain and its own self-discovery, that it's not in charge, that it is the illusion creator. So there are these steps and phases we have to go through. We have to. You cannot do an end run around them. This is the destiny of the dream. Right? It has to fulfill itself. Arjuna had to play his part on the battlefield with Krishna telling him, dude, you have to do this. This is the destiny of this. It's not the reality of you, but it is what has to unfold. Your life has to unfold according to the way it is. Even after you've completely woken up and you're a living Buddha, this will continue to unfold and fulfill itself. Thank God, because that's how we get sages. Because now the unfoldment is through that we are experiencing the reality, voicing itself, appearing in form. So good. Look forward to meeting you, Love and Light Sangha, and finding out what your actual name is. and so, yeah. Reach out to me. I read the support, and if Lisa can't get it, I'll get it. Well, anybody who's interested in that, anybody who's feeling, who may have felt that that non-dual inquiry has created more problems than it solved, please reach out to me. we can uh, we can we can work through that and bring about the emotional healing as well, which is equally important. In some cases, more important. Denying the trauma doesn't do anything. It makes it worse. Actually, just develops yet another persona that's even more disconnected from who you really are. So, all right. I seem to have exhausted the questions. I haven't exhausted myself yet, but the questions. So, thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for your questions. Thank you for your sincerity. Um, I'm just, I'm touched, you know. Look around the world, and this isn't spoken many places, and there aren't many people interested in it, and we get more and more traumatized by the world, the toxicity of the world, the egoism of the world, the greed of the world. It can seem quite overwhelming, and to experience you beings whose heart has been touched by this and are reaching for it is just, well, it's what I live for. It's what I'm here for. Because I want to heal my own trauma. I realize I attract people who want to heal their trauma. It's about being a safe place for others. We're all walking each other home, right? My name is Ren. Ren. Um, yeah. To the degree, because you want to heal your own, you have a certain compassion for it, even though you haven't arrived at it. Even though the whole thing may be mysterious and even governing your life, the very fact that you're aware of it and want to heal it is an awakening. And in that space of awakening, there is a safe place. And if your safe place, even if it's tiny, is bigger than somebody else's, they're going to be drawn to it. What I teach you to do is the art of creating that safe space is you take your little one and you make it big, really big, to the point where there's no boundaries anymore to it all. You are nothing but conditional love. All right, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All my love to all of you. And, see you next week, or maybe before in one of the